on the morning of 9/11. I'm getting ready, getting dressed to go to the dermatologist. I have light-colored hair, light skin. The sun is a disaster for me. I can't take the sun. So, every 3 months, I went to the dermatologist like clockwork. I had to. And that morning, I said to Clara, I said, sweetheart, I've got so much work to do down at the Trade Center. Cancel the dermatologist. I'm going down. And she said, you can't cancel again. You canceled last time. You cannot cancel again. And she got angry. Now, when you're married to somebody for 50 years and they get upset and they get angry and they start screaming, the world comes to an end. And I said, okay, I'm sorry. The words are yes, dear. Whatever you want, I'll do. Don't get angry. Please don't get angry. She said, okay, but you're going to the dermatologist, you're going this morning, and you're not going downtown. Suddenly, the phone rings. It's the captain of our boat, docked at Chelsea Piers, not far from where we live, and not far from the Trade Center. And he said, Mrs. Silverstein, is everything okay with Mr. Silverstein? She said, of course. Why? He said, turn on your television set. And that's when we saw the North Tower in flames. And we saw the plane circling around before it slammed into the South Tower and caused it to end up in flames. And therein was the day of the disaster of 9/11. And so we lost almost 3,000 people. It was a miracle. My life wasn't lost because she kept me from going down to the Trade Center. She just said, you've got to go to the dermatologist. By the way, I never made it to the dermatologist that day, but at least my intentions were right. Now, what I quickly had to do was find out what my obligations were, because I had signed a contract and now own the Trade Center. I had to rebuild like kind, like quality, and I had an obligation to collect the insurance proceeds from the policies, because that's the only place the money could come from the insurance proceeds. That was my job, my obligation, because they owned the policies. And we're going to get the money from the insurance companies with which to build. We went through an enormous amount of effort to find out what happened on 9/11 to cause the Twin Towers to collapse, and at the same time decide how to build a building safer and stronger and impenetrable, so that we'd feel safe in it, and everybody else would feel safe in it also. We scoured the world for the best engineers. Where do you think we ended up? There's a country that apparently has lots of problems in making its buildings explosion-proof. It's called Israel. Next thing you know, we've got the designs of a building. And the first design meeting was in April of 2000. And the first design meeting was in April of 2000. And construction began shortly thereafter in 2002.
Dent, who was a friend of mine, who was the chief fire investigator on the day, who at great risk to himself said, I heard the explosions in the buildings. He passed on a few years ago. God bless you, Rudy. You know, we're not even getting into all the fucking melted steel, like, oh my God. And then the hole in the ground in Pennsylvania, like, what the fuck is that? You gotta be a special kind of stupid to believe this shit. And this is what Americans and largely much of the world needs to acknowledge. You know, really. I'm not sitting here like, look at all you stupid. Listen, I'm just praying that you understand the necessity of humility and the ability to acknowledge when you have been wrong.
If you look at the entire political discourse and narrative of our country, there's really two events that cast a shadow onto the entire discourse. One is the Holocaust, and one is 9/11. Those are the two most sensitive talking points in regards to our narrative and identity as a country. And who is basically placating and funding both of these stories to create a victim complex, while in conjunction to that still having a superiority complex with that? Well, they're both Jewish money. And this is the uncomfortable truth. So essentially what we're having here is we're not allowed to actually ever be proud of true Americanism or nationalism, or even white people being proud of their own racial consciousness, because these two narratives will make you feel like you're anti-Semitic, like, you know, you're a Nazi, you know, the thing that they fear the most is white nativism for this reason, right? So this is basically what's happening here. And 9/11 was basically a way to fully seal that while creating the Muslim boogeyman. And there always needs to be an enemy as a false flag to confuse people. And now that they have this Muslim boogeyman, it makes us not focus on the reality that we are occupied and we are colonized. So this is their objective here. So for me, I like to look at things meta and the big picture idea of what's going on here. And they cause this national tragedy and all this suffering just so that we can't look at them straight on.
Fuck the echo chamber of stupidity. This is what's selling our country down the river. The enemy is inside the gate. They cut off all sovereignty through their funny money APAC bullshit IRS usury debt-based shit that Jesus hated, and so do I.